Today on Hearts of Heroes, a Category 4 hurricane brings in a historic storm surge.
This is the largest water event I've ever seen.
I told them to be ready when water comes, because it's going to come fast.
As floodwaters rise, family members will have to brave a brutal storm surge to save a relative in grave danger. But will they make it in time?
I could hear her screaming from inside. That was terrifying.
Hurricanes and twisters.
Boom. It came down on me.
Several tornadoes, including an EF2, stream across a crowded urban hub.
I just started screaming like I'm in a tornado. A tornado.
When friends and family become heroes, it shows all of us what true dedication means. It happens every day. People are going about their daily lives when suddenly a disaster strikes, turning their lives upside down.
And when one of these catastrophic events went down, things could have been much worse had it not been for the brave heroes who showed up to save the day.
Naples, Florida sits on the southwest shore of the Gulf of Mexico.
Naples is very close to the beach. We have some of the best beaches in the continental U.S., and we're also filled with waterways.
We have canals, channels, we have rivers that run through the area.
Johnny Lauder and his family have called Naples, Florida home since the year 2000. This tight-knit family is close in more than one way. Johnny shares a home with his wife and 20-year-old son, Xavier, and then his mother, Karen, and older son, Daniel, are just a stone's throw away.
I'm about 4 blocks from my son's house. My mother lives about a half mile further south from my son's house.
Though his mother is in her 80s and confined to a wheelchair, she is fiercely independent.
My mother is very special. She's a tough girl. Stubborn is to put it lightly.
Yeah, I am. He's right. Sometimes he tells me something, I don't listen.
When Hurricane Ian hit in 2022, the Lauder family would face a 12-hour ordeal that would change their lives forever. Naples was always expecting a storm surge in the forecast, but as the track kept moving south, the surge predictions doubled.
When the storm is coming, it's going to suck water away from the eye of that storm. So it took a lot of water down from Naples, and it sucked it out with it before it made landfall.
As the eye passes, now it's pushing it back. So that water that was once there left, it's going to come back, but now it's going to come back with ferocity. It's going to come back with a lot more.
With Hurricane Ian approaching, authorities issued evacuation orders, but some refused to take that threat seriously, including Johnny's mother, Karen.
When she heard the hurricane was coming, she's like, nope, I'm staying. I'm not going anywhere.
One hurricane came through and I came back. Everything was perfect, except the rug was wet. I thought it'd be like that.
We tried to get Mom to evacuate. She wasn't going to evacuate.
Disregarding an evacuation warning isn't safe. When an expert tells you it's time to get out, you should do so.
We've never seen anything like this.
Johnny was afraid for his mom's safety, so the former first responder decided to ride out the storm, just in case she would need his help.
In the 90s, I was a police officer in North Chicago. I was a SWAT team member. I had rescue diver training, so that is ingrained in me.
As Hurricane Ian made landfall, the storm surge caused massive flooding.
We can't drive through this. Back up, back up, back up.
It was early on projected to be roughly 1 foot to 3 feet, suddenly became 3 to 6, 6 to 12, and then, it just continued to get worse as it got closer.
Johnny and his sons kept an eye on the rising water and stayed in constant communication with Karen, who was in a home about a half a mile away.
I was on the phone at the time with my grandma, and then I said, I think I'm gonna have to let you go.
Xavier got up and said, the water's here.
That's when we gotta get to the attic.
As the family climbed to the highest level of their home, Xavier got back on the phone with his wheelchair-bound grandma. He quickly realized that she was in much greater danger than they were.
She said it's at her belly button, but he was saying that it sounded like the phone was underwater when she was talking. I knew I didn't have much time.
With the streets flowing like rivers, Johnny knew it was going to take everything in him to get to his mother.
When I saw our cars were underwater and the water was rising, that's when I knew it was going to be pretty rough.
Coming up, Johnny puts his life on the line to save his mom.
We have gators and sharks and a lot of other things down here, so I don't want them getting in my way either.
But first, a tip to keep you safe should you ever find yourself in a flood.
A storm surge, flash flooding, or busted pipes can overtake your home in just minutes.
That's why it's important to always have an emergency kit prepared. Pack high-energy foods like granola and jerky, and include a 3-day supply of water. Plan on 1 gallon per person per day.
And each year, make sure your provisions haven't expired. Be prepared. Planning ahead is a lot easier than you think.
When Hurricane Ian hit Naples, Florida in 2022, it brought a storm surge that flooded the city. The water climbed up to 12 feet in some spots. Johnny Lauder was right in the middle of it and had to get to his elderly wheelchair-bound mother who lived blocks away.
First, the water level was at her ankle, and then it was at her calf, and it was getting higher.
It's coming up! It's at the window!
Before leaving, he made sure his own children were safe.
My son, his girlfriend, my youngest son, all piled up into the crawl space. I had to leave, and I jumped out the window and started my trek to my mom's house.
As Johnny fought the surge, the raging water wasn't the only danger.
Floodwaters can be filled with sewage, toxins, and even dangerous creatures. So you definitely don't want to be submerged in this hazardous mixture.
But this former first responder had no choice but to press on.
We're looking at 4 feet of water, and I've been swimming forever.
When Johnny got to his mother's house, he could hear her screaming inside.
I crawled into her window, and that's when I saw the situation with the water and the nastiness. It was bad. She was shaking like a chihuahua, so I knew the onset of hypothermia when I see it. So wrapped her up, put her on a table.
Johnny would need to help his mom get to safety, but the surge made it almost impossible for first responders to get to them. So he called his youngest son, Xavier, who bundled up and began making the long, wet, and dangerous trek.
By the time I got there, everything had toppled over. Her refrigerator was lying sideways.
We had to try to move as much as we could to get her in her wheelchair outside the door. 6:10, we're now leaving. Pushing a wheelchair, half deep water. Yeah, that's done. We have a little bit of a trek ahead of us, but we'll try to get somewhere safe.
With the threat of hypothermia, Johnny knew they had to get his mom somewhere warm and dry.
Mom's sitting in a chair in her nightgown, soaking wet, so I know she needs to get warm quick.
He said, "How are you holding up?" And I said, "I'm not." It was definitely exhausting.
Wet and cold, they finally made it home.
You've been sitting in that water for 12 hours easily. So EMS came out to check on her. And they took her to Naples Community Hospital, and our fears were right. She did have some bacterial infections throughout her body. But since then, she's been treated. She's doing better. She's in a rehab facility now.
Both Johnny and his mother, Karen, had lost all their possessions. But their family and their fighting spirit had all survived.
Pick up people up, around us, and we move forward. So you can't look back.
Hurricane Ian taught everyone an important lesson.
Mother Nature is a beautiful but cruel and unforgiving woman, and she shouldn't be taken lightly.
Never again will I stay in a hurricane again. I'll go to a shelter, go somewhere with high. I learned my lesson the hard way.
Thankfully, everyone survived the 12-hour ordeal, in part thanks to this family's love and commitment to one another.
I thought they were heroes. I thought they were great. and I'm proud of him.
Not a hero, I'm just a boy who went to go help his mom, you know? That's the only way I can look at it. It's just, you do what you gotta do.
He's my dad. I have to be proud of everything that he does because he's amazing.
Coming up, southern Louisiana is hit by a series of tornadoes.
And then this big, loud bang, like boom.
And one man is trapped in his truck fighting for his life.
I'm looking at cars slip upside down. Put my head down towards the steering wheel and started praying.
The state of Louisiana is no stranger to hurricanes, but they also get dozens of tornadoes each year.
And when a powerful twister ripped through Jefferson Parish, it not only impacted the lives of the folks that live there, but the entire sheriff's department as well.
The state of Louisiana is unique in so many ways. One of those ways, it is not divided by counties, but rather by parishes. Jefferson Parish covers a large swath south of New Orleans.
Jefferson Parish is actually one of the largest parishes in population, but also in size. It goes from the Gulf of Mexico all the way up to Lake Pontchartrain.
Because of its size, the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Department has to be prepared for any kind of emergency.
We're the largest sheriff's office in the state. The terrain of which we cover ranges dramatically. We have rural areas, we have suburban areas, we have swamps and water. You know, it's a lot of mix of Louisiana into one department.
We are lucky in Jefferson Parish, but we operate 3 helicopters. We've got probably over 30 boats, 20 or so high water vehicles that can do mass evacuations.
They also have a state-of-the-art facility for their 1,400 employees.
You have the range, you have some training houses with the SWAT locker area, and then next to that is the property and evidence room, and then it's the land, air, sea emergency rescue area. It's where the toys are, boats, four-wheelers, helicopters.
In December of 2022, the department was preparing for severe storms that were forecast to erupt in their parish.
We got the alert that severe weather was coming in, so I told all my guys to go ahead and start preparing themselves.
He had asked if I would just be available in the event I had to come back here. I had told him I still got to go to the gym, so I'm just going to be here. If you need anything, just call me. So I went to the gym and I started working out.
I was actually home when the storm started coming through. It wasn't until my dispatch called and said, okay, it looks like we have a tornado that's touching down on the West Bank.
Like many tornado events, there were multiple tornadoes that day. At least 6 tornadoes from southeast Louisiana through southwest Mississippi, and each had an independent path of damage. Jefferson Parish took a direct hit.
During that workout, the power went off, and it sounded like a train, and then this big loud bang, like boom. And then the power came back on. I was like, man, what was that? A few minutes later, another officer comes running in the gym because the tornado hit the building. So I went outside, and when I came into the parking lot, the roof had ripped off, and all the debris was everywhere in the parking lot.
Meanwhile, Jefferson Parish resident Michael Willis was out running errands when the storm hit.
I went to the drugstore, and when I come out, the winds was like nothing I've ever seen in my life.
As Michael started driving, the tornado hit his truck.
And next minute, boom, it came down on me. All of it was coming towards me.
The twister began churning up the car lot next to Michael's truck.
They got bricks coming out this car lot. I'm looking at cars slip upside down.
Suddenly, the tornado lifted Michael's truck right off the ground.
And I just started screaming like I'm in a tornado. A tornado. Then I just balled up and put my head down towards the steering wheel and started praying.
Coming up, the ferocity of the tornado leaves everyone stunned.
He says, boss, it's bad. You need to get here.
But first, some important information to keep you safe in case you get that warning that a tornado's coming.
Let's face it, the destructive power of tornadoes can be frightening, but knowing the facts can help keep you calm and safe.
If you live in an area prone to twisters, learn the difference between a tornado watch and warning. A watch means that conditions are favorable for tornadoes to form, so stay alert. A warning means that a twister has been spotted or shown up on radar. If that's the case, seek shelter immediately.
Always remember to listen to your local weather updates and stay informed. Understanding the facts can help keep you safe from harm's way.
Jefferson Parish, Louisiana was bracing for severe weather when several tornadoes erupted.
I was coming this way, and when I got like where that white truck is at, that's when it just came down out the sky. Like it wasn't in front of me, it wasn't on the side of me, it just came, boom, out the sky.
Michael Willis's truck was lifted into the tornado.
And then it just popped me out.
The twister would throw Michael's truck hundreds of feet. He landed about a block away from where he started. Shockingly, Michael kept driving. Meanwhile, at the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Law Enforcement Facility, Sergeant David Dalton was at the gym when the twister slammed into the building. He went outside to investigate.
There was rebar and I-beams scattered everywhere. There was a pickup truck that was in the parking lot on top of the fence that wasn't there before. You could obviously tell the tornado hit, so I was like, let me go check on the range.
The roof of the range just got ripped off. So it's immediate, get back to the facility to assess the damage.
I walked back to the range, and when I walked back, the entire roof had collapsed. There was water everywhere, like a waterfall running.
Deputy Griffin made a frantic call to Sheriff Lupinto.
Says, boss, it's bad. You need to get here.
Even though a large part of their building had suffered major damage, they knew a central command post was needed to help the people of Jefferson Parish.
We still have a job to do and a commitment to the community to provide them a safer place to live. So that can't stop just because a building got damaged.
We utilized our helipad as a parking lot to be able to have people in. We had staff and equipment out there pulling the roof out of the way so we can utilize the parking lot. Where we set up for our command headquarters that night was only 100 feet from total devastation to one of our other buildings.
As they set up the command post, sheriff's deputies were dispatched to help other people affected by the tornadoes.
We owe it to our citizens to be there quickly to work through their problem.
After the storm passed, in addition to helping all the folks in need, the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Department now had to deal with the massive damage done to their headquarters.
Start planning for the long haul. How long will it take to get this facility back up and running? Where will we be able to go to continue the training?
Our sponsor, Belfour Property Restoration, was soon at the scene.
70% of the roof was torn off, so we worked around the clock for the first 3 days to put a temporary roof on to secure the building, and then started doing the remediation inside.
They just went to work. It was very amazing to see how coordinated they were and how much production they got done in just a small amount of time.
Removing sheetrock, insulation, carpeting, all things that were affected by water, and then getting the place dried out.
We want to get it back to where it was, but make it a little bit better. We want to bring the most realistic training that we can to our officers, so we always want to be that state of the art.
Feels great. Put the sheriff's department back in a better building and able to serve the community.
This devastating storm is forever embedded in the memory of those who were impacted, including the first responders who put their own needs aside to help everyone else.
I guess, like they say, not about the storm, it's how you weather the storm.
Amazing stories of bravery, courage, and heroism are all so inspiring and heartfelt.
We never know what situations might come our way, but stories like we just saw prove that we all do have a little hero in us.
Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time right here on Hearts of Heroes.